Oh, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And just like that, because I'm gonna keep on using this pun. At this point,
On,
as
you're
look here,
killing me.
one of our viewers pointed out that that's something Carrie said at the end of every Sex and the City episode. So if she can say it, and she's gonna continue to say it at the end of this one, I'm gonna continue to say it.
All right,
And
fine.
just like that, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with another episode of our review, Big Old Belt of Just Like That, with my beautiful, talented, voluptuous, I'm running out of adjectives to say.
I see.
Co-host
Dominance.
Amaya Desire. How are you
Hello.
doing tonight?
I am wonderful and just glad to be here, healthy, and
Yes, yeah, because Amarion is going bananas out here in the world today, ladies and gentlemen. Just be
definitely.
safe as humanly possible. Mask up. Stay 10 feet apart because 6 feet clearly ain't enough at this point because he will dance right onto you if you're only 6 feet apart.
I knew you was gonna do it. I knew you was gonna do it. Damn it.
So stay far enough apart where you can have some fun with the rest of your year. But here
Yeah.
we are, just like that, episode 5. This one is called Tragically Hip. So normally we start off and try to go down the episode, but this time we're going to try to do something a little different because this is a very key pivotal episode of this season as so many big things happen. So we're going to give you a quick rundown and then jump into the big things and the big moments of this episode. So one of my first notes of the quick rundown is, are we now seeing the possible new foursome here with Anthony joining them at the it didn't feel the best because the way his energy is completely different than what we're
Yeah.
accustomed to. But what were your thoughts about that new foursome that they brought up to us in this episode?
I wasn't too mad at it, but it was different, right? That's all I got. It was different. I love him though as a character
Yes.
because he's so funny. His puns are always on point. Whoever
Yes.
his writer is, they be with it. I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him, and I do think that I think he's gonna fit in. I think it's just a different way to see him meshing with the ladies, and it's gonna take some getting used to. But I actually enjoy him. I think that he does lighten the mood a lot more, and that's something that they need right now with so many changes that they're having.
Yes.
So I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Now we also get the title of the episode early on with Carrie needing to have hip surgery. I mean, it's not much to talk about there.
No.
It's a funny setup, but it does lead to the bigger moments of the episode. But as I said, we're going to try to go through these early parts of these runs so we get to the meat of this episode. The next thing we see is Rock. As Charlotte's daughter has told the entire school to call her Rock, and we don't find out until they're on a Zoom parents meeting.
I think it was like a PTA sort of thing happening with them. Yeah.
I'm about to say PTA, but do they still call it PTA meetings?
I'm pretty sure they don't. But as neither one of us have kids, we don't know what the hell is being called right now.
I don't know what the Zoom PA or Skype.
Who knows?
We don't know what it's
Not
called.
Skype a day. I'm done, sir.
But then we get the introduction of Charlotte realizing that this mysterious kid that they're talking about is
hers.
It's her daughter. Now, we're going to dive deeper into this later on, but what were your first impressions of this reveal?
Well, I mean, I felt like it was shocking. I'm glad that everybody jumped off that Zoom call so quick. Bloop, 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 bloop. Right? And LTW had to break the news to her. I'm not a fan of this is gonna sound so shady, but I'm just not a fan of this character in the sense of how much is happening. But you know what? Never mind. This is probably real life. It probably happens like this in real life. So whatever. I thought it was heartbreaking for Charlotte, of course, because she's really been going out of her way to be extremely sensitive and
Mm-hmm.
cautious about how she's dealing with this transition. And I
Exactly.
feel like this is normal for kids now. Like, oh, well, I did it on TikTok. Why you didn't see it on TikTok? You know, so but we'll get there. I felt for Charlotte because she's really been wanting to be a great mom, and I just feel like sometimes she gets thrown these curveballs that she just doesn't see coming.
Yeah, especially this one. This was, again, we're going to talk about it much later on in this review, but that was a heck of a curveball just to throw her way. That, and to say on TikTok, people, come on now, come on. Even though she is a kid, so that would make sense that they would think that would be appropriate for them to do it that way, and everyone should see it. But again, we're gonna get into that later. Next one, my favorite moment of the show is Carrie post-op in bed with pearls on. Listen, people. If I ever have surgery again, I need diamonds on me.
Listen,
I wake up from surgery.
I was like, huh? She woke up like this. Literally, I had a Beyonce moment. She woke up like this, like she's in a hospital gown with the blazer on and the pearls. I'll be damned. I've been going. Listen, I've only had but one surgery, but shit, I did that surgery post-op wrong. I need to do better next time.
Clearly, I barely remember what happened when I woke up. Not enough for someone to put me in pearls and a very fashionable cardigan.
Listen,
From my
I got you. Okay, if anything happens in the future and you need surgery, I got
that's
you.
what I'm talking about. I
got you.
To the 9s, to the 10s, damn it. To the 10s, I need to be ready.
That post-op picture gonna be like, wait, did he go in already? Is he out? Okay, all right, I'm here for it.
Another big moment early on is Miranda getting this mysterious book from Amazon, along with her son's lube and tube socks. First off, let me just say this. Future teenage child, there will be no way in God's green earth that you will order lube that I get and I'm going to be okay with it and give it to your girlfriend to give to you. If you want to do lube because self-love is important, and being, as safe as humanly possible with self-love where you're not hurting yourself is important, and you want lubricant to do that, I have no issue. But I am not then going to give it to your girlfriend who's with me in the house with you, and it
They
be
got to
okay.
go.
Including the girlfriend saying, I'm so happy you're cool with it, because my mom would have strangled me with her.
Hello?
Like, that tells you that maybe this is not the best way to go about
this. First of all, I was so over it. I'm like, if you don't throw that damn book at her, if you don't keep this lube for yourself, if you don't put these kids out your house, ma'am, I ain't got nothing else. I'm literally just, Miranda, ma'am, we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to. This is beyond me at this point. I ain't got nothing else to say. I'm stuck.
Yeah. I mean, the world ends when your child orders strawberry flavored Astroglide. And I'm not being crude here, but I thought Astroglide was used for just a particular area of the body. Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you get the double pleasure of finding out your son likes flavored lube, and he likes flavored lube when he performs a certain sexual act that.
Listen, I'm baffled, okay, because never in a million years would I ever order something like that at my mama's house. I mean, not in my teenage years for damn sure, because your mama's liable to do what? Open your mail, yes. Right? So the idea that you think is okay.
Well, that's because the lines have already been blurred, because you already allow him to sleep with his girlfriend at your house. You allow him to do all these other activities. So just ordering lube, he's like, no big deal. But here is the perfect pivot point for us to focus on the character, and that is going to be of Miranda in this episode. We get a couple of huge reveals finally in this episode. We get the biggest one, which is her finally admitting that her life isn't what she wants it to be.
Yeah.
We also get the reveal of why she's drinking so much. I love the point that they pointed out. It's because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was drinking a lot. I just didn't stop.
Yeah.
And the other thing is her and Shay in Carrie's apartment, and what looked like to be one of the best orgasms you could ever humanly possibly have.
Clearly.
So, what are your thoughts about what we get revealed to us from Miranda in this episode?
Well, I'm not surprised that Miranda thinks Charlotte sent her the book, right?
Yes, because that would be a Charlotte thing to do.
Okay.
Definitely.
There's so many big moments with Miranda in this episode, but I really feel like the one about being honest with your marriage is the biggest one, right? But I was also a little triggered, right? And I'll tell you why. Because I've been in a situation before where it's about me, right? And I'm telling this friend off, and now it's turned into about you.
Yeah.
That's not why we're here, okay? You still need to get chastised for this behavior. But now we gotta digress into me feeling sorry for your ass and being a real friend, you know, and that's real life. That happens with friendships. Yes. So I totally get it. But I want her to dive deep though. Like, why is the marriage, you know, why is your life, you feel like your life is in shambles? Why is your marriage not where you want it to be? You know, how can you say kind of like all of my life, or, you know, like, how long has she been feeling like this? How is it that her friends don't know? You know what I mean? Like, how is that she doesn't feel comfortable enough telling? These are your girls, you know what I mean? Exactly. So that to me stood out. The whole thing with Cher, I knew that was happening. I knew it was going to come one way or another. Listen, that whole trying to put the hand over the mouth situation, bro, she sounded like a wolf. Okay, she sounded like a goddamn wolf in mating season. And I'm trying to figure out what's happening here because her eyes are rolling to the back of her head. But I mean, like, listen, I've had orgasms. I ain't never sounded like a wolf though. I mean, clearly I'm missing something.
but we got to point out one thing that she did bring up in a prior episode. She's not had sex with her husband in years.
This is true.
So this is like her first time being touched by someone else in years. So all that build-up anticipation that was happening can lead to the orgasm being more intense. And maybe that's what gave this moment the gravitas that happens with her in this scene. It's because it's a build-up.
One ponders that if you haven't been touched in years, has that thing been touched? Because you're keeping it wax, or does it look like a furry monster down there? Like, okay, let me stop.
We're going to assume that knowing her, she still keeps it well kept, trim and slim down there.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you on that. She hasn't been touched in years. I mean, what kind of man, what is this guy doing besides losing his hearing at this point and listening to his son have more sex than they're having? Like, that to me would be a nudge, you know what I mean? Like hello, can we knock back? You know what I mean? Can we bang back is what I'm saying. But yeah, that scene was very intense. However, my prediction is she is going to get strung on Cher, and that is not going to be the dynamic that is going to be played here, because Cher does not seem like she wants to be in a relationship, and definitely not in a relationship with a woman who is, let's just say she's curious right now. Because I don't know if Miranda's ever been with a woman in Sex and the City, and not to my knowledge that I can recall she's done that. So
that is something I wish I would have attempted to research, because that is, even though it was rumors at one point in time about it, because it would possibly mirror Cynthia Nixon's actual life, where she is, I think, professes bisexual and she's currently married to a woman, so I think it would have mirrored that way. But if we think
Gotcha.
about just Miranda and Steve, the way they got together on Sex in the City, it never felt like they were madly in love. It always felt like, okay,
Convenience.
like, yeah, this happened, so we need to be
Mm-hmm.
together. So
Yeah.
here for her to now progress at this point of her life to say she's unhappy, she's miserable in her situation, it kind of makes sense from
Yeah.
everything we know of this character. And
Absolutely.
especially with her bringing up in this episode, she made a career change because she was miserable. Why wouldn't you make that same change in your
In your
personal
life.
life
Yeah. Personal life.
because you're miserable? I thought that was a real pivotal moment, but I do understand what you're saying. It is supposed to be all about Carrie and her recovering, and then you just flip the tables on her
Yeah.
about you being miserable.
I
But
would have been so disappointed, and I was disappointed because I would have stayed sober, right? You know, because my mom has had surgery, and I've had to be there for her, and I can't think of a more irresponsible thing to do than to be high and or drunk, right? While somebody who can, especially the person cannot walk, right?
and
Carrie
that
at
is
this
the key
point
part. She
cannot
could not
walk.
move really. Yes.
And I would have been pissed. I would have thrown some shit. That mirror would have been broken, and you would have heard me,
Everything.
and you would not have finished this howl that you would have had in the kitchen. Would not have happened. Okay. Yes, I would have been finger blocking, because I can't call it cock blocking. Finger blocking. You would not have had that big ass O that you had in my kitchen. Absolutely not. But I'm trying to piss. Oh no, if I got to be uncomfortable, everybody got to be uncomfortable. Okay.
And again, as like Carrie also brought up, like you all were smoking weed in her house, like no permission asked. Just we're just gonna light this up and be. But then that's not on Shay as much as on Miranda because boundaries wasn't set.
Facts.
You allowed her to come in. You allowed taking shots. You start off by saying, "Carrie, sleep. We need to be quiet." And here you go, loud as ever because you're drinking. You're involved in. I must say involving, indulging in things you had no business doing while you were supposed to be taking care of her. So it led to these horrible situations. But let's also bring up the other thing, the more interesting point of this too for me, the ordering of the book. And to think she had to order this book while she was drunk. Anyone who has ever been drunk before understands drunk self, when drunk self talks to other drunk self, all interconnected conversation here. You may say, we're never going to do this again. We're going to do this to fix this problem. And it looks like while she was intoxicated, she ordered this book knowing I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what did you feel about that moment when it was revealed that she ordered this book?
I said, look at you, your raggedy ass. You blaming stuff on Charlotte, and it was you the whole damn time. You know, you owe Charlotte an invisible apology. You should just hug her, and you don't have to say anything. Just hug her because you wrong. And I think that I was in my head. I was like, the fact that you ordered that while you were drunk says a lot.
Yes.
And the fact that when you got sober, you thought that because in my head, I'm like, why would Charlotte send? Because I feel like Charlotte would have sent a note along with the book. You know what I mean?
That's Charlotte.
And I'm like, you ordered all this stuff. It's coming to your house. It just doesn't seem like something Charlotte would do. But okay, I'm going to let you have it. It made sense at the time. But now seeing it and thinking like, wow, I ordered this while I was drunk. And yep, okay. Maybe Charlotte is onto something here, you know. And then, of course, hearing the conversation she had with Carrie, where she goes, you know, if I had to quit, I would stop immediately. But I know I don't have a problem. I know myself. And then going home, listening to Shay's podcast, right, or her stand-up while making a drink, only to get that notification like, hey, Miranda, how'd you like the book that you ordered? Oh, oops. I did order that, you know, and I think it's a wake-up call that she needed. I would have liked Carrie to stand up more on the Charlotte side, because I really do think Carrie was enabling her and would not have said anything had it not been for that mishap in her house. So definitely disappointed on that front. But glad that Miranda is, I don't know, maybe A, gonna read the book, or B, get the help she needs. So we'll see.
As we see, when she finds out she orders the book, she throws away all the alcohol. Granted, whatever drink she was making, I was trying to think about it with the orange zest, and it looked like vodka and grenadine. I was confused at the mixture there, but I'd at least finish that drink. I'm like, look, I'm gonna drink this, and then I'm gonna give.
She couldn't risk it. She didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. The book was it was sobering to realize that you ordered this book, so it was yourself telling you needed help. And this was your way of you getting help. And for her to have that scene, you kind of wonder, well, what's going to be next? What's going to be the natural progression of this character after this book, after this situation, after this sexual rendezvous with Shay? And how does that leave her life moving forward? I think that's going to be the most interesting part of Miranda's character for the remainder of this season. Next up, though, got to talk about and go right back to Charlotte, as Charlotte and Harry go to Rose's Rock. They school to have a conversation about, as Harry puts it, how is it that you all are having these conversations with our child and we don't know about it? How did you allow her to change her name? What I loved about this scene, and what I want your opinion on, is we're now seeing more and more shows address children transitioning and wanting to become their natural selves. What we don't get is parents' real reaction to it. Right here, we get like how difficult it actually is for a parent to have to deal with this situation. What did you think about the scene, the overall thing with Rock, and everything that's explored with Miranda and her daughter in this episode?
Well, I think that Charlotte is displaying.
I said Miranda.
Charlotte. I think that Charlotte is displaying much like what most parents would be going through, right? Like she's having more of a motherly breakdown of sorts, like sadness, whereas Harry is more on the angry side. He's more like, you guys should talk to us. You know, how serious should we take this? While Miranda's like, every time I open my mouth, I want to say Rose. And I think I can't imagine what that would be like to give birth to a child, and label said child as what their gender is, right? Based on their genitalia, because gender and gender. And then for your child to say that I feel like I was born in the wrong body and I now want to change my identity, I now want to change my name. I cannot imagine what that's like. I don't have people in my life who have transitioned. Well, actually, that's not true. I have one person, but they did it later on in life. And so my biggest thing is that I just... You don't want to tell a child that they're wrong and what they're feeling is not valid, right? But at the same time, it's like you are still a child, and that's such a hard space to be in. I can't imagine. The scene for me was very touching, very like pulling at heartstrings. But what I think the one part I didn't like was just that when the counselor was addressing Harry, when he said Rose and he said she, the counselor was like they and Rock. And I think that people in that position, such as the counselor, right, should have more compassion towards a parent who is going through this transition, trying to figure it out and feeling some kind of way about it. And I think therapy is probably going to be their next bet on where to go, just so that they can find that dynamic. I'm hoping that they show therapy, just because I think that would be a more realistic approach to how the situation can be handled. But I definitely feel like, man, like that I might have punched the counselor in the face by accident, just because because I'm like, listen, it's my kid. Give me a moment to process how I'm feeling, because it's not like the parents' feelings are invalid. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing that we should really consider, is that everybody's feelings are valid, and it's a tough transition for everybody, because you have to understand that if your kid is 12, for 12 years you've been calling them Rose, for 12 years you've been calling them she. It's going to take some time for you to switch over. Even for me as an adult, sometimes I forget that I'm calling my now god brother. I have to catch myself, instead of saying she, it's he, so just things of that nature. It's a learning curve for everybody. So yeah,
that was the most gut-wrenching part of this episode, was that conversation they had with the counselor, because it did bring up a fear of most parents. Like, one, you allowed my child to make a decision, and nobody thought reaching out to me would be the thing to do. Granted, you could say, well, we thought maybe they talked to you. It's not your job to think it. What your job is to reach out to me and let me know, hey, your child now wants to be called this. They want to be called that. Is that okay with you? We need to bring you in, or we need to have a meeting immediately the moment this happened. I think the fear is this school was so progressive that they did it without including
talking to the parents. Right.
And that's what you don't want to have happen. Yes, you want to accept your child for who they are. And a name is just, in the end, a name could be just a name, but it meant so much when I named my child this.
Right.
It meant everything to me. So yes, I need to be involved in every decision as it pertains to how you treat my child, how you talk to my child, how you address my child. And I fully understood Harry there, even him bringing up, like, are we sure this is really her? Like, she does things like this. Is it just a cry for attention? This is where the therapy does come into play, where you're gonna have to sit down and have this conversation as a family, because it involves everybody, not just the parents, but also Lily. It involves the entire family having to deal with Rose wanting to transition. Now, I have a trans sister, and and again, that's it, the pronouns, how you get confused in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
She decided to transition in her early 20s, and it still was hard and difficult then. So I couldn't imagine having a 12-year-old who then comes to me and says, I want to be called this.
Right.
Like, no, all games stop. I did like that part with Charlotte said, could we stop smashing turtles for a second? We need to have a conversation about this. Because yes, we have to talk about this. We can't just make these decisions. It can't just pop up on TikTok and you think that's okay. We need to sit and talk about it.
There needs to have boundaries in place.
Yes, because these are your feelings, as well as it is you feeling possibly you were in the wrong body. It encompasses too much stuff for us not to have to sit down and seek help to talk about it. I just love the point that this was a natural parent reaction to it. We normally see the reaction where, oh, that's great. You want to be this now? Oh, great. I love you no matter what.
Right.
Yes, I love you no matter what. It's always going to be true. But guess what? That does not mean I'm going to be overly accepting about the choices that you always make.
And it's also about respect, because as a child, whether you're male or female, non-binary, whatever, you still know to respect your parents. And then respecting your parents, you should have come and said, hey, mom, dad, I want to be, called Rock. You know what I mean? Now, if my name was Rose, I'd have been like, yo, call me Rose. Okay, you feel me? I want to be called Rose. But that's neither here nor there. Respect your parents, and giving them the opportunity to really be with you on this journey if this is what you're choosing. I feel like they excluded them, the parents, and then it felt very uncomfortable because you're making your mom look like she doesn't even know her own child, and that's another hard bullet to a hard thing to deal with. So
it was just a bunch of confusion here, and the confusion to me lies at the feet, unfortunately, of the child here and of her school.
The school,
Oh, my goodness, how dare you make? I am still I'm hyped about that, because I don't understand how you made any of that as a decision.
But that's rich people's schools.
I understand. Look here, because if it was schools, regular charter public schools, the moment you say I want to change my name to this, your parent is on the phone immediately.
Exactly.
Like, hey, this is what your child said. But then you wonder, is that just a disconnect because of the environment? And maybe that's not best for the child. There's nothing wrong with being progressive. There's nothing wrong with being open to all in a school,
right.
to make
But
all
I
the kids
mean,
feel comfortable. But
counselors were used for that though, right? Like when you had an issue in school or whether it was grades, bullying, whatever, the counselor was supposed to be the bumper between kid and parent to bring them in and say, hey, this is what's happening. At least that's how it used to be. But it is 2022. So
but even the counselor saying to Harry, well, when he said, is this a fad? Well, no, Rock and them, they this seems to really be them. That means you've had multiple conversations with my kid and no one has told me about it.
Yeah.
Again, we don't want to harp on this, but
inappropriate.
That's the best way to put it. That was an inappropriate conversation I had with the kid.
Yep.
Without the parents being involved. And I did like the way Harry addressed it. I like the way Charlotte is handling it. And again, it's going to be a hard thing, but it's going to be something extremely positive for television to show that no, every parent is not overly accepting of this happening with their kid, but they can still be open to having a conversation of, well, how do you feel?
Right.
What would you like us to call you? Why would you like us to call you this? We need to have these conversations. And if on this show they choose to have this conversation, this is close for me, as close to being as groundbreaking as the talk of sex was on the original Sex and the City.
Yeah.
These type of conversations.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Now, to close out our little show, we got to talk about Carrie here. Whew. And the text. At first, I was I don't want to hear Samantha's name because you're not going to put her on the show. Let's just breeze past this character here.
Yeah.
And then Carrie goes on a podcast all hyped up on
opioids.
It's a Molly Percocet, everything humanly possible about Samantha having to dig out her diaphragm. Now, first, I want to ask, Amaya Desire.
Listen, don't ask me. I ain't had one, okay? Hold on, let me dig. Let me go in my library. If it's anything compared, and I believe, because that's old school, I think I probably tried that once, and I would see why Samantha had to go in there and get that thing, okay? Because this shit is serious. But if it's anything like the Nouveau ring,
I wasn't gonna ask about you.
But listen,
I just want to know, like, how close of a friend, like, that you would because
my best friend of however many years, since 98. But if I needed to, or my sister,
because that's an extremely close friend that they
or my mama.
Well, clearly that would be the obvious choice, but like that just I can't ever think of a situation where like a male could go to another male.
For what though?
Like, hey, I can't pee, or
no.
Your arms, could you pull it out for me so I can pee? Like,
no,
I don't think. But that's why this was such an interesting story, and why the podcast loved it when she told the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that for sure, I would probably call my sister, because my sister would say something like what Samantha said in the text, which is like, I'm glad to see your vagina getting airtime. So, I mean, to me, it was humor, right? It was joy, it was reminiscing, and I liked it, but I do feel as though they're trying to hold on to Samantha too much, right? I feel like if we get spurts of her, which we've only had spurts of her, like the very first episode, right?
The second
episode with the funeral. And so now episode 5. So okay, all right, well, okay, we'll let them have it.
But what did you think about the end text of them texting back and forth again, just reliving that moment?
Samantha was such a dick for not saying "I miss you back." Like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, come on, we can see the bubbles. I hate that shit. Okay, let me tell you something. This I just between a red I hate that. Okay. The only thing that needs a red receipt is my email. All right. That's it. My text don't need it. The Facebook Messenger don't need it. The Instagram message don't need it. It's you know what? Zuckerberg is just a douchebag for that whole thing. And I'm pretty sure iPhone had it first, but then you went and you put it on everything else, in Facebook and Instagram. And I hate it. So, but being that I'm an iPhone user, seeing those bubbles, because I don't know if y'all have that on the Joy side, but seeing those bubbles, it's just like, why are you playing with my emotions? Girl, tell me you love me back, okay? Tell me you miss me back. And now tell me you miss me back, and I'm mad again. And now I'm probably just thinking about how Miranda was over here having an orgasm in my bathroom and I had to pee on myself. I'm all sorts of upset.
Android cares about our mental health. They don't put up bubbles for us to see people not respond to our messages, because I wouldn't know what to do. Because at that point, I gotta call you. Like, no, you heard me. No. But again, could it have to do with her not responding the way they've told us the way their relationship ended? That it didn't end on good terms. So you start a text and you're bringing up an old memory, but then you put "I miss you." But does that mean the other person has to say that? What happened if they actually don't? What happened if they're still in the place of hurt where they're like, I don't want to deal with this right now?
I mean, it's valid. It's totally valid. And it just sucks, because like they say, friendship breakups tend to hurt a lot more than relationship breakups. And so, when this used to be your ace, somebody who could take your damn diaphragm out, and now you're telling them like, I miss you, and you don't get that back. I'm just wondering what the play is here for the imaginary Samantha character that they have going on. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
If you're a friend of mine and you do anything for me below my waist, we are always friends. I hate to tell you this. I don't care what happens in life. We're always friends. Like,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Because clearly we were that close at one point where it shouldn't matter what happens. But again, here, we don't really get a lot of talk about exactly what fully broke it up. Or
right.
I may not remember it. I remember the first episode, they hinted towards a conversation or something led to it not being okay with them and then her moving away.
Yeah, it was the whole book deal situation. Yes. That books were dying, which we know in real life actually somewhat kind of happened, right? Went to audiobooks, we went to Kindle, and she felt like she was moving on from that and no longer needed Samantha as I guess her publicist, I think, in that aspect, but that she could help her in other things. And Samantha said basically declined their friendship as well on the way out. So I get it, but I do feel like there's got to be more to it than that, because a friendship of that stature,
business wouldn't end that friendship.
Yeah, basically.
It has to be something a little deeper that ended that friendship, and why she left her on. Is that left her? Oh, so that's what the song "Left Her on Red" mean. Oh, you iPhone people and mental anguish that Steve Jobs and Tim Cook and all of these people have decided to put y'all through.
Yes.
Oh man, I feel for you all. Could be me, but I feel for you.
Couldn't be me, god damn it.
So, closing thoughts on episode 5, Tragically Hip.
Listen, Miranda, I'm glad that you finna go to AA, okay? Please put your son out, because this ain't it. Or the girlfriend got to go. One or the goddamn other. You need to have a serious conversation with that husband of yours, because you done cheated now, so now shit is really up in the air. So that's from Miranda. Charlotte, girl, just stay strong, okay? Stay strong. And, just be open to all the possibilities of what's happening with Rose, aka Rock. And as for Carrie, girl, you better, get the number for your PT instructor, because 3 months and back in heels, ma'am, okay?
That is one thing I forgot that we need to quickly talk about.
Yeah.
They're clearly doing a time jump of 3 months here. What do you think could transpire or have transpired in these 3 months?
I don't know, but I want her outfit and her heels, and I can't walk in them heels, so they need to switch me out for some block heels. But I want everything.
This episode was made for you, because
the Birkenstocks.
Yeah. Look, Carrie said it. She said, I look like a middle school teacher, a middle school art teacher, in these
She
Birkenstock and these
and
damn socks.
socks. Yes,
Like, no.
all me, all
When she went
me.
to physical therapy, she said, "What's your goal to get back in heels?" That's all I. That's all we want.
Hmm.
That's all I
Yeah.
ever wanted is like just heels. Just
I thought
heels.
she was gonna say something. I thought he was gonna edge her into saying something like
No,
getting, maybe like a half split. You feel me? But Carrie kind of old, so we just gonna leave it with the heels and call it a day.
Carrie still wears 6-inch heels everywhere, and she's in her 50s, going on 60s.
Teach me the way. Teach me.
So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another review of Just Like That from the Big Gold Belt Media Conglomerate. That's what I'm gonna call us now. We're a conglomerate now.
Okay, I love it.
We do more than enough material. That again, like the video, subscribe to the channel,
and comment.
Comment. It's so we love all the comments last week. We love all the comments all the time, even if you feel the need to correct us. And I'm pretty sure someone's gonna correct us on something this episode. But most of the comments are lovely. I absolutely
and we appreciate you.
Keep on commenting, keep on watching. Tune in every Thursday at 4 a.m. right after the episode drop, or as one of our lovely viewers said, she watched us and then went back to
watch that episode. Yeah,
that is so dope and so cool. So please check us out. Let us know what you think. It's been another review from myself and Miss Amaya Desire.
We'll see you next time.